In podcasting, audio quality is not based on any standard or any rules. Why is that? But also, should we even care? So in October 2021, Tim Ferris released an episode with Chris Hutchins. In this episode, Chris asks Tim about his podcasting journey, and they go through a lot of podcast-related questions, tips, a lot of good advice. But there was something that stuck on my mind, something that I respectably disagree with. Now, the topic that I had an issue with was audio production. And Tim's take on it was, well, don't worry about it too much. Again, we're not talking about high distortion, high noise, or any other proper audio issues, rather going deep into audio cleanups and audio restoration. Tim said he uses the same microphone he always used throughout the years, and his team of producers or editors, they do a minimal job on the audio itself besides some simple editing. That's about it. That's his approach, and he said, yeah, just do the same, don't worry about it too much. Now, at this point, you probably start to understand why this rubbed me wrong a little bit. Because in essence, he is minimizing, well, my job and the job of other producers and post-producers. Now, again, I understand he's not talking about TV post-production or movies post-production. He's talking about podcasting, and podcasting is different than all these other media. But I want to give you my take and why I disagree with it, and maybe why you shouldn't follow his advice. My main point is my approach to work. I wanted to achieve the highest quality in all aspects of the work. When we take podcasting, that be research, writing, narration, and post-production. You know how the saying goes, you are as strong as your weakest link. If one of these elements is lacking, in my view, it drags down everything else. You may have the biggest budget, the best crew, the expensive equipment, but if the story sucks, if the content sucks, then everything sucks. Or maybe you've got the most interesting guest on your show. If a listener can barely hear what's being said on your podcast, well, that doesn't matter, does it? Especially in podcasting now, you got so many shows and new ones are being released every single day. Now, if your quality is substandard, how will you stand out? Even audio production, especially audio production. Things were a little bit different a few years ago. And that leads me to my second point. When Tim Ferris started podcasting, he had a couple of things going on for it. One was, these were early days, so there wasn't as much competition as there is now. People were more forgiving, and bad audio quality wasn't deal breaker. Even look at when we started over 6 years ago, the first episodes were, kind of very mediocre quality, and that wasn't deal breaker because people were forgiving. Two is that even before Tim Ferris started podcasting, he was already famous. He was a famous writer and a blogger. And he had a huge audience. People who wanna listen to him and hear him interview guests. They will forgive him if the audio quality is not the greatest in the world. And how do I know this? Well, I am one of these people. I like his writing, I like his blog, so I wanna listen to his podcast. I wanna listen to, his guests. I do enjoy the content. Do you find this video helpful? Well, hit subscribe and you can become a better audio producer, just like me. What I'm trying to say is, it's easy for Tim to say, well, don't worry about audio quality. But right now, there's one, a lot more competition than it was when he started, and two, a lot of celebrities got their podcasts now. So even if you are a famous person, it's not like you're gonna be the only one with a podcast. And more than likely, you don't have these things going on for you. So you're not a famous person, you're not starting a podcast in a vacuum. There's just yours and that's it. On top of that, I want to also add a personal note. So don't take it seriously, don't take it personally. I do notice the quality of his podcast. Of course, it is my job, but I do notice the lip smacks. I do notice the sibilance. I do notice the breaths that are kind of loud. His breaths and some of his guests. And there were a couple of situations where I was listening in the car, and the speakers in the car, they exaggerate higher frequencies. And the sibilance was so annoying that I had to switch off the episode because I just couldn't listen to it. Of course, if you listen to headphones or some other system, the sibilance wouldn't be as bad. So it also depends where you listen. But yeah, people do notice. Saying all that, I won't give him a bad review, or I won't stop listening. Why? Because we go back to my other point. I'm a fan of his writing, his blog, and his podcast. So I am forgiving, and I do forgive his audio shortcomings, and I will still listen to his podcast. The point that he was trying to make, it does make sense for him. He doesn't have to worry about audio quality as much, and he doesn't have to worry about his setup as much. But my question is, well, what about you? What about a person who's unknown and wants to start a new podcast? That's where I disagree with his take on audio quality. There is a lot of big companies that already moved into that space, and they're producing very high quality podcasts. They have a lot of cash, and you've got to compete with them, as with thousands of other people, independent people who start the show as well. It's hard, it's difficult, and my view, podcasting is audio. And just a digression, I want to make a point that we're talking about audio podcasts. It's a little bit different when we talk about a video podcast, so the ones you watch on YouTube, for example. But when we talk about audio podcasts, there is no video, there's no animation, there's no graphics, there's no other assets, there's no other elements that can cover if there are issues with the audio. Like, it's all audible, everyone can hear it. So my take on it is learn basics of EQ, learn basics of compression, dialogue editing, some simple stuff, how to do some cleanups, and maybe some restoration tools, cleanup tools like denoise, declick, and so on. Just that knowledge, just that basic knowledge will put you miles ahead of everyone else. If you're watching this, Tim Ferris, well, no hard feelings, of course. I will continue to watch your content and listen to your content, and possibly read your books as well if you release something in the future. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out the next one, and we'll see you soon.